Hello, welcome back to GOT. Today we're going to talk about the Z Fold 7 and answer that biggest question I get is, should I get the Z Fold 7 or should I get the Honor Magic V3? Yes, I said 3, not 5. We're going to compare these two head to head. Let's go. Now, as I said there in the opener, the Z Fold 7, the most questions I get about it is, should I get the Honor Magic V3 instead? And the reason why is you can get this at half the price of the Z Fold 7 right now. And people want to know, does the V3 still hold up? The V5 would be coming out soon, and we'll compare that later. But let's look at the V3 and the Z Fold 7. So first off, I'll look at the look and feel. As you can see, they both are about the same size as far as a closed foldable goes. The actual dimensions in this thing is you've got a little bit taller and thinner aspect ratio on the Z Fold. And you can see that here looking at them side by side. And the Honor Magic is considered a 6.45 exterior screen, where the Z Fold is a 6.5. The only reason why is because it's squared off there in the corners, as you can see. Now looking at them here side by side, as you can see here, see my reflection, the Z Fold actually has an anti-glare screen protector on it, which you can see really does make a difference. Now looking at the controls on both of them, everything's pretty much similar. You've got the rocker arm here for the volume control on both, and the power button, and both power buttons, of course, are also fingerprint readers. And then on both you have a really nice size camera bump. And as you can see here, I'll hold it like this so you can see the space in between. And now I'll put this one on the other side, and looky here, it's about the same. The camera bumps on both of these are about the same. And now let's look at the thinness folded. They are both, I think, around the same. I believe the Z Fold 7 is 8.9 millimeters, and I think that it's the same thing for the Honor Magic V3. The Honor Magic V3 looks more narrow simply because it's rounded, and we went over that same thing when we talked about the Vivo X Fold 5. I do like the roundness a little better too. Then we take a close look at the micro USB here. You can see they're both really just barely right on the edge. There is no space left to make these things any thinner. Now, for those that want to see that these things opened up and a comparison, we could do that. The Z Fold is a little stiffer when I tried to open it up, as you can see here, and it holds a little better at a lower angle. As you can see here, it'll hold open, and it's a little stiffer to open because of that. So it'll hold pretty much at any angle, which is nice. And while we're looking at it, let's go ahead and look at that crease and turn that screen off here. You can see the crease is there, but it's really hard to see. It's not the easiest thing to find. So that's a good thing. Very minimal on the crease. Now we'll open up the Honor Magic V3. Same thing. It's not as tight. And as you can see here, it won't, it already wants to shut. It won't hold very much here. So right here, it starts to close. Boom. It won't hold open very much. But who's going to look at their phones at this angle anyway? It doesn't really make a difference. Where it does make a difference for me is if I want to stand it up on something to do some photos or get it to take a portrait view using it as its own tripod. It's kind of hard to do because it wants to close on me. So that is the one use case where you would use it partially open. So on this one, you just got to completely do a 90-degree on it to get it to stay open. Now let's look at the two of these side by side with them open. Look at how skinny those things are. They are so narrow. Now you can see here that the Z Fold is not going flat. You can see it's kind of bent there a little bit. It won't lay flat. You have to put some pressure on it to make it flat, but that doesn't really make a difference in using the thing. But even looking at them this way, you can see the Honor Magic V3 looks even more narrow, simply because the roundness. They are both set at 4.2 millimeters when open. Wait a minute, I just stated that wrong. The Honor Magic V3 is 4.3. The Z Fold is 4.2 when open, so it's supposed to be more narrow. Hey, real quickly, I just want to tell you I appreciate you tuning in the channel while I compare these two phones. Do me a favor, if you get something out of this video, smash that like button, show me your appreciation. It really does help out the channel. Now back to the video. So now if we move around to the back of both these phones, you can see here the camera layout is completely different. You got this big old rounded thing and a straight line of cameras here on the Z Fold 7. And a lot of people say they just don't like this big old bump on the back, but you know, they're both in the way no matter how you hold it. Your finger's going to touch them if you hold them like this. So to me, it really doesn't matter on the layout whatsoever. So the look of these cameras is going to be personal preference. Now, as far as the big differences, you've got the actual hardware on these. With the Z Fold, you have a 200 megapixel main shooter, where on the automatic, it's a 50 megapixel. But beyond that, then it really gives the automatic V3 the advantage, because you have a 12 megapixel ultra wide, 40 megapixel ultra wide on this one, and a 10 megapixel 3x zoom, where you got a 50 megapixel 3.5 times zoom on the automatic V3. So on camera, the photos are a lot better on the Honor Magic, and we'll take a look at those in a minute. Let's go ahead and weigh these things. Again, we got the Z Fold 7. It's weighing at 218, or is that 1918? And then you got the Honor Magic V3 is 234. So it's quite a bit heavier. Now, both of these have screen protectors on there, so they're actually a little bit heavier than the advertised weight. But the bottom line is, the automatic V3 is a bit heavier than the Z Fold 7. Can you feel the difference? Maybe just barely. Now, in the end, I do prefer the automatic V3, simply because it is rounded. You've got the rounded curves versus the squared off sharp edges you have on the Z Fold 7. I don't know why they didn't go a little more rounded like they did with their S25 Ultra, because apparently people preferred that. They didn't like it being so sharp, but maybe they were too far along in the process to really make that change. So not only is the V3 a little bit rounder, it's a little bit wider, and we can see that more when I turn on the image here. So let's open both of these up and turn on the screen here, set them side by side, and you can see in the image here, the Vivo is a little bit wider, and it even looks wider. And I can prove it to you, and go ahead and use this here. We can go measure the screen here itself, line that up. The screen is right at 2.56 in width. We're going to go over here to the V3, and if you look, it actually is a bit wider. It's about a millimeter wider. So you've got a larger layout on the front screen. Let's go ahead and see if we can put another one down here. There we go. We got 5 in there. But as you can see, the icons are just a little bit smaller on the Z Fold, and that's because it's a little bit smaller screen. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the customization of these phones. They both customize really well. There's quite a lot of features to it. I'm not going to cover all of them. I'm just going to give you a couple of basics to show you how similar they are and where they're not similar. You've got large folders on both of them, where you just hold it and you can shrink it, and of course hold it again and enlarge it. And the same thing over here, hold it, shrink, hold it, enlarge. But you can also, on the automatic V3, press it and you can make it more narrow. Check that out. You can actually do that, or you can squat it down, so you can actually shape them a little more here on the automatic V3. That's not a function you could do over here on the Z Fold. So that gives you a little more customization on the automatic V3, which is something, if you remember, you can actually do on the Vivo X Fold 5 too. You can actually take these and reshape them. So there's a little more customization there. Now, there's also cool stuff you can do with the widgets. Like on this one, you've got this widget here that you can actually do multiple widgets. I've just got 2 on here. I can slide it over so I can just do my optimizer. But your widgets, you can resize in any way you want. You can see here I have it smaller. And on the V3, you can actually do the same thing. You could do widgets, and you can actually group them together here as well. Stackable widgets is what they call them. And the stackable widgets just save you more room and give you more data. So right here, I've got 3 things here together, and you just slide up and down, whereas on the Z Fold, it's right to left. Now, on both of these phones, you also have your news feed on the right. And here's something that's really cool, an article where they're talking about measuring these two. Let's go ahead and open that article. Let's do one better. Let's go ahead and open it up completely. Something I do want to show you before I do is the brightness on these things. Let's go ahead and make them fully bright all the way. And you can see here that the Z Fold is not as bright as the Honor Magic V3. It's not quite as white. You can see that right there. Let's go ahead and open them up. Let's open them up and see the inner screen, and see if it maintains its brightness there. And we do the same thing here on the inside. Open them up. And as you can see, it's the same thing on the inner screen. The Z Fold is not quite as bright as the Honor Magic V3. And make sure that the brightness is all the way up on both of them. Yes, it is. So even on the internal screen, you can see the Z Fold is not as bright as the Honor Magic V3. Now, this is what they look outside. It's pretty much a different scene when you compare them in natural sunlight. Now you can see I've added my other 3 foldables out there so you can see them all. And the Samsung and the Vivo, as you can see, they're the standout. They are the brightest. They're pretty much matching right there. The Honor Magic, which is supposed to be bright, is actually the dimmest of the 3. The Pixel and OnePlus are holding their own. Now the OnePlus and the Pixel and Honor are, of course, about a year old or more. And the new technology and the newer phones will probably be brighter. Not quite sure, but you can see the Vivo and Samsung definitely stand out among the rest. Now, I tried to do this direct sunlight at first, but it was too bright. It was too much glare. So I moved over here to the shade and went in an angle to try to eliminate the crease. You can see the biggest crease is in the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. So there you have it, outside screen test. So as you can see, the brightness is pretty compatible on either one. So let's go ahead and talk about performance. A lot of folks ask, how does the Honor Magic V3 do on the cellular networks? Well, if you look at them both, they're both on T-Mobile. So let's go ahead and run the speed app on both of them. I think I got it here already. And since this is a cellular test, I can run them both at the same time. They won't interfere with each other. And they're both on 5G, as you can see here, 5G on both. And it looks like the Z Fold is actually doing a lot better download speeds than the Honor Magic V3. It could be it has more or newer radio bands than the V3. Who knows? Hopefully the V5 will actually have more radio bands as well. But look at this upload speed. It looks like the Honor Magic V3 is doing better on upload. We're not doing much upload speed here on the Z Fold 7. Not quite sure why that is. So this is really nice. The Honor Magic V3 finished first. It started first and finished first. So I don't know what that has to say about the software, but that's an interesting take. We'll get the Wi-Fi turned on and we'll run that test again on Wi-Fi. Make sure they're both on. The Wi-Fi is showing up here. Wi-Fi is showing up there. Now this I got to do separately. So let's go ahead and do the Honor Magic V3 first. And it has to do the test. Now my router is about, I don't know, 15 feet away. And it will do 400 down is what my plan is. So we're getting about 330 here down. So that's pretty good. And I have about 11 or 10 up on my plan, but you can see here it's doing a little better at 11. So that's not bad. So those are pretty good scores. What are we going to do over here on the Samsung? Now they both are capable of up to Wi-Fi 7, but I don't have Wi-Fi 7. So I think I'm at a Wi-Fi 5. So they're not getting the full amount of Wi-Fi that you could, but I don't think it really matters because neither one will actually do that with my slow service. So it appears to me the Wi-Fi performance on both of them is pretty much right on par. Now you can see the day-to-day performance on both these is pretty much the same. On the Honor Magic V3, you have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, where on the Z Fold, you have the new Snapdragon Elite chip with all 8 cores. So it really should perform better, but you really just don't see that in the day-to-day use, such as just opening up apps. Let's open up my photo gallery on both here. There we go. The Z Fold was quite a bit faster on that app, that's for sure. And let's try another one. Let's go ahead and just open up this video editor that I use quite a bit. Let's see what happens. You know, about the same. Okay, the Z Fold was a little bit faster, which is expected. Let's go ahead and open up Amazon on both of them. You know, that's about the same, just maybe a slight delay in the Honor Magic V3. So as far as daily performance and using these things, you're not really going to feel a difference. Now, of all the comparisons I've done, even with the Vivo X Fold 5, I've found that the 8 Elite chip isn't really that much of an advantage. So don't let that be your decision maker. Now, I'll do a deeper dive on performance in a later video once I get the Honor Magic V5, because I do want to compare and put head-to-head these 8 Elite chips against the 8 Gen 3 chips that I have in the Honor Magic and the Vivo X Fold 5. Now let's get into camera performance. Told you earlier we're going to look at that. So I'm going to show you a quick video and I'm going to narrate and we're going to see the simple difference in daylight photography. So here pulled up on my computer, I've got the Z Fold 7 and the Honor Magic V3 over here. And the Z Fold 7, just so you know, it's a 200 megapixel camera that I'm taking this shot with. And you can see here, you could tell, look at the file size, it's 5,600 megabytes. And look at the image size, 16,000 by 12,000. So when you go over here, the Honor Magic V3, this is a 50 megapixel high resolution camera and the file size is 20 megapixels, but you can see the image size, the pixels is only 8,000 by 6,000 compared to 16,000 by 12,000. So about half. This is about twice. So we've got a 200 megapixel versus a 50 megapixel. The 200 should definitely come out better. And when you look at the overall image, you could see there's a little more color range here in the Z Fold. You can see there's not a brightness here, and the shadows in the tree look very crisp and clean, as over here it looks a little washed out. But let's go ahead and zoom in on both of these photos where you can see the real differences on both of these. So we'll go in about 3, 4, 5 times, and you can see here on this tree, look at the clarity on this thing, and we'll zoom in over here on the Honor Magic V3 to about the same size here. And you can see there's a little more clarity still on the Z Fold 7. And look at these flowers. You can see here. They're very close, actually, but I think there's just a little bit more color and detail here in the Z Fold, and you can see how red the red wagon is here. So you get a little bit more clarity here, and even looking at these string plants or these leaves, whatever my wife calls them, anyway. And then one other thing I want to focus on here is this little turtle here. Check him out. Okay, right there. See, he blurred in a little bit. We'll go ahead and back up a little bit. Then on this one, we'll do the same thing. Let's focus in on that turtle. And as you can see here, back up one. There's a little more clarity over here on the Z Fold 7. And, oh, especially look over here in this dirt area, this gravel. Look how splotchy it is over here on the Honor Magic. It's still a little clear, but that's what you get with 200 megapixel versus 50. And you can see the file size is 20 versus 56. Now that's cropping in. Now there's a difference between cropping in and zooming in, and that's what we're going to see here. Cropping in is something you could do after the photo, but when you're out live and you want to zoom in on something, here's a big difference. So on the Z Fold, it looks like a really nice clear photo here on a 3 times zoom lens. Now their zoom lens is only 10 megapixels versus a 3 times zoom lens over here on the Honor Magic, which is 50 megapixels. So let's go ahead and move in a little bit. Now you got, again, more color on the Samsung, but they do saturate a little more. And we'll move in there on that turtle. And you can see here on this turtle, move in a little bit on him. You can see there's much more clarity on this 50 megapixel image than there is on the 10 megapixel image here on the Samsung. Look at this. You can see that here in this plant. It's very clear here, and it's just kind of all mushed together here. And you can see as well on the Z Fold, it's a 54 megabyte photo at 400 by 300, but over here, it's still that 8,000 by 6,000. So the same image in pixels, and it's a 20,000 or 20 megapixel photo. So you can see you're getting a lot more detail because of the 50 megapixel versus a 10. So you see there in those photos, the Z Fold does really well in that 200 megapixel setting in the 200 megapixel mode and snapping a photo. It'll outperform the 50 megapixel high resolution photo on the Honor Magic V3. But once you do anything else, in other words, if you're out and about and you feel like you need to zoom in and get a little closer or a better shot, forget it. The Z Fold begins to really slide off the scale at that moment. Then the Honor Magic V3 and all the other foldables with higher end cameras perform a whole lot better than the Z Fold. So if you want a fuller camera system with more options, the Honor Magic V3 is the one in this comparison. Now I will do more detail on video and night photos in another video. Now, when it comes to software on both these, Samsung clearly outperforms all the other competitors because they have so many different features, so many add-ons that it's just crazy, but it can get confusing. And I'm going to be completely clear and transparent here on this. All those additional fancy features on the Samsung are not necessary and not there for your average user. As a matter of fact, I rarely use them. You have to download an additional app called Good Lock, and within that app, it has like half a dozen or more different apps in it that you have to download, and then you have to figure out what happens and what you can do with each different one. It can very much be complicated. So if you want to learn more of what you can do on the Samsung, because there are so many things, it's almost unlimited that you can do, you have to look at specialized videos to learn how to use all those features. Now, with phones like the automatic V3, everything is built into the program, built into the software. You don't have to get a third app or another app to get things turned on and working in the automatic V3. Just one off the top of the head real quick. If you want individual volume controls, you got to get that third app. You've got to get sound assist, and then you got to turn sound assist on, and then you got to do separate volume app controls. You got to turn that on to make that work. It's all built into the automatic V3. There's no additional app. There's no additional downloading. You just got to use it. It's as simple as that. So the truth is, I believe the automatic V3 is a little more user-friendly. And I know a lot of you Samsung fanboys are going to yell at me about this, but that's just the clear, honest truth. There's a whole lot of things you can do with the Z Fold or the Samsung device. It just can get really complicated, and you got to know your stuff. But I still have to give it to the Samsung for the better software, simply because all the different options available. Now, one really important difference between these two is warranty and services. Because this is a Chinese version phone, it comes from outside the United States or your country, it does not have warranty services readily available for me here in the United States or maybe where you're at. So getting service on this is a little more complicated. So I do recommend getting a third-party insurance on the phone for accidental damage and actually warranty issues as well. Whereas on the Samsung, because Samsung is everywhere, there may even be a store in your town, you can get this thing either fixed in person or you can mail it off right here within your country and get it serviced right away. And the Samsung is guaranteed for 7 years with updates and security patches, where you only get 5 on the automatic B3, and I guess we're down to 4 now because it's a year old. For me, I don't have to worry about the updates and security patches because I don't keep phones that long, and I think your average person doesn't keep these phones for more than 4 years. So as far as services go, the Z Fold 7 wins. Now let's talk about price. The Z Fold 7 comes in at around $2,000, and that's if you want the 256 gig model now. I don't know if they're still running that automatic upgrade to 512 special. So if that's run out, this thing is really expensive for a 256 gig model, where you can get the 512 model on this right now. Just looking around on eBay and other places, you can get it used or pre-owned or refurbished for less than half that, for somewhere between $1,000 and $800, which is an excellent buy. So if you're coming into foldables for the first time, I highly recommend getting the automatic V3 at a really good discount somewhere, and go ahead and buy the $100 insurance while you're at it, because this is a great phone. Now let's go ahead and put a summary on this. Where do I stand? Well, the automatic V3, being a year old, is still a top performer. This is an excellent phone. And the Z Fold 7, being the newest phone, it has got that new crisp and solid look for a foldable. You can't go wrong with this either, especially because of the software, which is really what's going to sell a lot of the Samsung foldable. But when it comes to overall usefulness between these two, I do prefer the automatic V3, simply because I know I can depend on the cameras. I'm going to get a better shot, especially if I have to zoom or do anything other than point and shoot. And then the last thing in the comparison between these two is the battery. Automatic V3 has a 5150 milliamp hour battery versus a 4400 milliamp hour battery. Needless to say, on this area, larger is better. And this was a year ago, folks, that they were able to put a larger battery, actually a little more than a year, in the automatic V3. Now that larger battery has proven for me to give a lot more battery life than what you get out of the Z Fold 7. Now the Z Fold 7 is also pushing a larger or a more powerful chip, which could also be draining a little bit. And the screen is a little bit larger. I don't think I covered that. The internal screen is 8 inches versus this one being a 7.95, I think, which is pretty close to 8 inches. But all that to say, you get a faster battery drain on the Z Fold 7. And what's even worse is when it comes time to charging. On this thing, if you want to charge the Z Fold 7, it's a 25-watt charger, or even worse, 15-watt wireless charging. But when it comes to the automatic V3, you need to charge it. This thing's got a 67-watt charger, and it does 50 watts wireless charging. So just in my own daily use, this thing will go from 0 to a full charge in just around an hour, where it takes the Z Fold 7 hour and a half to almost 2 hours to fully charge. A smaller battery, that's just crazy. So you will need to charge the Z Fold 7 a little more often if you use it a lot during the day. And unfortunately, it takes a lot longer to charge, so you'd be without it for a lot longer than you would with the Automagic V3. So if it just comes down to cameras and battery, the Automagic V3 is definitely the phone for you. And that's the way it sits with me. Oh yeah, and one more thing I forgot to mention, the S Pen is not available on the Z Fold 7, but you can get one for the Automagic V3 that works on that inside and outside screen. I ordered one so I can demo that with the V5. So that's another area where the Automagic V3 has a little more feature availability with the S Pen or Stylus. Now, for all you folks out there that say I'm just a Samsung hater, I am not. I love this phone. I'm just telling you the truth. And there's a lot of folks out there trying to decide whether they should get the Z Fold 7 or the Automagic V3 or the V5 because they do not cost as much as a Z Fold 7. Now, I'm going to leave it there. It's time for me to hear from you. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think? How do these compare? Did seeing the differences help you make a decision? I want to hear from you. Now, I did do another comparison video against the Vivo X Fold 5, and you can check that out here. And you want to make sure to subscribe to the channel because I've got the Automagic V5 on its way, and we'll do another comparison and a lot more different videos between these foldables coming soon. Matter of fact, tell me what you want to see. Until next time, have a wonderful day and God bless.